And good morning, everybody. What's going on? How we doing today? All right, look, let's talk about fighting with the team that you have to build the team that you want. All right, we have to fight with the team that we have because the one that we want, it ain't been built yet. You got to build it. You got to build that team. It does not exist. A lot of times we can't find what we're looking for because it don't exist. You got to build it. All right. So yesterday, I had the opportunity to speak with a young man who came into the office and he had some paperwork. He was trying to do a dispatch. He had some paperwork, and the paperwork wasn't filled out correctly, right? And we're gonna hit on a lot of things in this talk, but mainly standards, right? So he had his packet, well, lack thereof a packet. He had a dang on dispatch request form, and there's checks on this dispatch request form. And for the viewers who don't know what we're talking about, it's a document that we use to say that this person is authorized to drive a piece of equipment, and it also allows a person who owns the piece of equipment to know where the piece of equipment is. Well, he comes in with his dispatch request form, and he doesn't have everything on the form that you need to drive the vehicle. So he was having a conversation with another one of my NCOs, and the conversation got kind of weird to the point where I was like, you know what, I should probably intervene. So I go over to the young man and I'm like, hey, come on back here. Let's have a conversation. So I'm like, hey man, what are you doing? Like, what all do you need to make this happen? And he spouts off a couple things, and I say, okay, let me get that document. He gives me the document. I go over it. I'm like, hey, where's all of this stuff? You need all of these things. And the first thing out of his mouth was this. He said, well, sir, you know what? I'm planning on getting out. I don't plan on staying in, this, that, and the third, yada, yada, whatever, whatever. And I had to stop him. I had to stop him right there. And I said, look, check this out. You cannot use your future plans to excuse your current actions. Okay. You are currently getting paid to perform a job. You are currently getting paid to perform a job. So I need you to be present. You are better than this. And then he goes right back into his spiel again about getting out. I'm like, look, we don't care about none of that right now. Look, you're an intelligent person. You're gonna do well wherever you go. All right. But right now, I need you to be here and I need you to be present. There are things that are expected of you. And I wanted to talk about that this morning because I've seen that a lot where individuals will try to excuse their current actions or lack thereof based upon what their future plans are. And we can't allow that. We have to hold people accountable and we have to hold people to the standard. All right. If we hold people to the standard, standardization and people look like trying to do the standard and get after the standard is what's going to get us to mastery. I think we got to get back to mastery. Like we have to have people meet the standard. Like this whole CrossFit model plan that we got where everybody don't have to be good at things. You just got to be okay at a couple things. You don't have to be really good at, anything. I think we got to get away from that. We have to get back to people mastering standards because when people don't master standards, things begin to fall by the wayside. Those little things that they don't do turn into big things. And I think we got to get back to talking about that. And I'm not sitting here saying that everybody has to be a master at everything that they do. No, I'm just saying you need to be good at the thing that your organization said you were supposed to do. The thing that you get paid for, you need to be good at it. And if you're a leader out here giving these people all of these things to do, you have these unrealistic expectations. I would I would urge you to look at the things that all of your people are doing and figure out what's important. Figure out what's important because if everything is important, nothing is going to be priority. It's that simple. You can't be good at everything. You can't. You cannot be good at everything. You got to figure out what it is that you want your organization or you want your people to be good at and drive that thing home. It would be better to be good at three things than to be okay at 50. It would because when that's the type of organization that you run, it's gonna be poorly ran. Like let someone look at you and say that person is good at this. Let them look at you and say that. And me, when I have like when I get my businesses and stuff running the way that I want my businesses to run, this is what I'm gonna tell my people. Look, if you work in my business or you work in my organization, I don't want anybody outside of this organization to know who the boss is. And this is why. When someone thinks about my name or my brand or whatever, I don't want them to think of a face. I want them to think of a brand so that when they think of that brand, it doesn't matter who does it. It's going to be done at the same standard, it's going to be done at the same quality. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who comes from my organization. And that's going to be my criteria. So if you want to be a part of this brand, when you do something, you represent the entire brand. It doesn't matter who you send. We don't have substandard people. If you were substandard, you would not be working here. And if you're thinking about being substandard, then we can talk about that as well too. But we have to meet the standards. We have to meet these standards. Imagine if, you know, the guy or gal who made the windows for a spaceship decided not to show up at work one day. And when I say not show up, I mean physically. They weren't all into it. And they decided to cut some corners and things like that. And that spaceship takes off and it goes into space. And they didn't build it directly to the specs that it needed to be built to. And it got a crack in it. What happens to the astronauts inside of that spaceship? This is the importance of standards and doing things to standards. If we do not have a quality control and quality assurance process, to ensure that all of these things are being done or what they're supposed to be done, nothing's going to get fixed. We're going to keep running on this dang on hamster wheel, saying like, hey, how do we fix this? How do we fix this? When the answers are there. How do you fix it is get to the standard, figure out what the standard is, go find out what the standard is, and you work your best to get after the standard. It's all about the standard. Like it blows my mind about, when you're in a transactional organization and the first thing out of a leader's mouth is, what is hire doing? I get it. I understand the thought process. I do. I get it. But this is what I would rather hear from leaders. What is the standard? What is the standard? I get it, because we got all of this stuff that's going to guide us in the direction that we need to go in. But what is the standard? If we can do that one small thing, that is the standard. If we could follow the standard, everything else will take care of itself. Because when hire comes down, if you're within the standard, guess what they got to say? Nothing. And this is the last thing I'm saying. I'm gonna jump off of here. There is a difference between a standard and a goal. Okay. The Army has standards that are very clear. They're in black and white, right? You have ARs, you have DAPAMs, you have all of this stuff. You do. The Army has standards. The standards are in black and white, right? Nothing supersedes a standard. It doesn't. Nothing supersedes a standard. Like we used to have the OPT test, right? And you had to get a 60 in each event. And soldiers would get like maybe a 70 in each event. And people would lose their minds. They would lose their freaking minds. Like, oh my God, you didn't get a 300. Technically, that soldier exceeded the standard. They got a 70 in each event. And I'm not here trying to dang on advocate for people not trying to be the best that they can be. But this is what I'm saying. My best and your best are two different things. We need to stop worrying about these individuals' best and start worrying about the standard. If we can get everybody to the standard is what allows us to be able to complete our mission. And that's it. Like there is a baseline standard. We have to hit that standard. If we hit that standard, anything on top of that standard is extra credit. That's it. It's extra credit. And we gotta look at that standard. Let's get back to mastery. How do we get after the standard? The written standard, not what somebody thought was a good idea, not because somebody liked this. What is the standard? What's in black and white? And look, I get it. I do. There's a gray area. I'll be the first one to say it, but it's a whole lot less gray than there is black and white. There's a whole lot less gray than there is black and white. All right. And we have to understand that there is a gray area, but we don't live in that gray area. We learn to navigate it so that we can get things done. We learn to navigate it so that we can get things done, but we have to get after the standard. How do we get people back to mastery? Because doing things right, doing things to the standard, it matters. That's your calling card. That is your brand. That is who you are, the things that you do. This is the last thing I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna get off of here. Yesterday, Sir Major Phillips made a video, right? And she talked about, is it authorized versus is it within the standard? And a gentleman said, hey, how could something be within regulatory guidance but is not within the standard? And my response was this: the standard is how we do things. Authorization is the volume or the time when it's appropriate to do said things. And the example I used was this: we have two types of uniforms in the military. Back in the day, we had classes of uniforms. We had class A, B, C, and then we had our battle dress uniform. But now we have dress uniforms and we have ACUs, right? Army Combat Service uniforms. A dress uniform will be your AGSUs, any of those things like that. It's a dress uniform. You wear it to a ball, you wear it to a formal event. There's very specific criteria that has to be met to wear that uniform. Now, we have what we like to refer to as a duty uniform, and this is the thing that you wear on a daily basis. The duty uniform is your ACUs, right? Now, if the duty uniform is ACUs, right? And you show up in your AGSUs, which is a dress uniform, there's going to be some questions. It's probably not going to end in the way that you wanted to. And I gave that illustration to just point out, like, yes, things are authorized, but authorization means when and how much. That's what authorization is. So just because it's in black and white and you can do it, there's an appropriate time and place and space for everything. And that's where that authorization comes in. All right. Okay. I'm going to get off my little soapbox. I was on here a little bit longer than I intended on being, but I wanted to talk about that. We got to stop allowing people to discredit or not, excuse their behaviors in the moment based upon what their future plans are. Like, you ain't in the future. You're here right now. You're here right now. And we got to take care of the team that we got. We got to fight with the team that we got. We got to train the team that we got because the one that we want, we have to build. It's not there yet. That's why you haven't seen it. Okay. All right. With that being said, look, check this out. You are important. You matter. And don't let anybody make you feel as if you're insignificant. If you do, get into the inbox. We have people here to help you. The NCOPD Live team is here to help you. Let's Talk About It is here to help you. And the Woman's Intentional Podcast is here to help you. All right, look, life is a choice. I'm depending on you to choose well. I was just signing out. I'll be talking to you soon.